everyone. I'm Georgia Duncan. I'm a care coach with AskVet, and we have our wonderful Dr. Emily Gaugh tonight, and she is presenting our webinar all about how to prepare your pet and your family if you are having a baby. So, Dr. Emily, please take it away, and everyone else, please feel free to chat in throughout the webinar if you have any questions, and we can pause Dr. Emily to ask your questions. And definitely stick around till the end because we will be hosting a giveaway, and I will post the link in the chat at the end. So, all right, thanks, Dr. Emily.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for having me back. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how to prepare your pet, either your dog or cat, for a new arrival. And this topic is all about babies. In future webinars, we'll kind of talk more about toddlers or older kids, but for this particular talk, we'll be focusing on babies. So that's some more fun talk. So this may be a baby that you're preparing for yourself, either through a pregnancy, foster, adoption, maybe a grandbaby. Somebody mentioned nieces and nephews coming over. That still sometimes counts if they're in that baby group. Maybe you want to open a daycare in your home, something where you're going to have a new baby arriving. So while it's a very exciting topic, unfortunately, this does come with a lot of sensitive themes as well. So this is a very tough road for a lot of people to go through, and their pets, of course, with anxiety. And so I just want to start off this talk mentioning a little bit about my background, and that all the things we're going to be going through tonight are things that I have learned the hard way, what I should have prepared for my poor animals. But I have rehomed a pet. I do have a current dog that my now 6-year-old was bit by her when he was very young. And I've gone through some very tough times with animals and babies, and I know a lot of other people do. So judge-free zone. If anybody has questions or things that you're going through, feel free to ask, because I've been there, and I want to make your transition much smoother than mine was. So our talk is kind of divided into before baby and a little bit after baby, but most of it's before, because ideally in all situations, we're going to prepare well in advance so our pets are ready for the new arrival. I do want to make just a quick note about this website. Paws.com is a really great resource for anyone wanting to expand their family or bring a baby into the home. Or they also talk about older kids as well. I do think it's only about dogs. I haven't seen anything on there about cats, but it's a great resource. They have webinars. They have one-on-one trainers you can work with for troubleshooting and coaching and things. So it's just a great place to check out. All right, so we're going to kind of go through a timeline just to give you an idea on how much maybe some of this takes. But by all means, if you have a baby already in your home or it's coming in 2 weeks, you can still do all of these things. It just may be a little bit more of a challenge when you're trying to manage a baby at the same time. All right, so early exposure, early preparation is always going to be the best. There is a lot of research that shows that 10 to 16 weeks of age is our pet's prime socialization time. And what that means is if your cat or your kitten or your puppy does not get exposed to something between 10 to 16 weeks of age, it just means they're more likely to develop a fear later in life. That doesn't mean at 16 weeks, the training stops. You don't have to show them things because it doesn't matter. Behavior is ongoing. So we need to constantly re-expose our pets to things. But you'll hear, or at least I hear a lot frequently, somebody mention, oh, my dog must have been abused by a man when he was young because he's scared of men. Well, it probably just means your pet wasn't socialized to men at that age group. So they're probably a little bit more fearful of certain situations, maybe tall people or people in wheelchairs or babies, as we're talking about tonight. So if you have a young animal and you think, I may want them to hang out with kids one day, you want to expose them to kids at this age. And I do see a lot of owners that personally, I think it's a little much, but they want to get a puppy or kitten at the same time baby comes because they want them to grow up together, and that's super cute. And for this purpose, I mean, that meets our goals, right? Our puppy and our kitten are going to be exposed to the baby early on, and they can definitely be desensitized to a lot of things that babies are going to offer. So any interaction that you give your pet that has to do with kids or babies, you want to make that positive, especially early on, but even later. So if you have an older pet, you're going to be bringing baby in soon. We don't want to take our pet over to the neighbor's house who has 5 kids and let them just go at it because that's not going to be positive for anybody. You want to start slow, make sure every little exposure is a great one, have lots of treats available when you're first bringing around kids or babies for them to get exposed to. And another thing to mention is you never want to scold a negative reaction. So if your pet does want to back away or gets a little bit abrupt, you don't want to stop that. You want to allow them to have that opportunity to show their fear or show their anxiety. If your pet were to growl, we never want to scold a growl, because what will happen is over time, if we keep reprimanding that response from them, they're going to start hiding it. And they're going to skip the growl and then it becomes a bite. So anytime our pet has a reaction, you want to just take a step back or 10 steps back in some case and start again at a slower interval. And of course, handling sensitization, get your pet used to being ears handled, feet handled, fingers in the mouth, fingers coming at the eyes, all those things you want to get them a little bit desensitized to. And this is a great way to start out on your own so that you can decide or get a viewpoint of, how does my pet respond to these things? Am I going to have a problem down the road? Because if you start, you already know your pet doesn't like their feet touched to have their nails trimmed. Well, how are they going to feel when the baby starts crawling and grabbing? It's probably not going to go very well. So just to kind of get a check-in on how your pet's going to respond. All right, so we want to make changes gradually. Once you decide a baby's going to come into your life, you want to make those appointments early to get with a trainer, somebody who's going to work with your pet, especially if you already have a known behavior issue, whether that's anxiety, even fear of thunderstorms. That's an anxiety. And that doesn't mean that just because it's only linked to thunderstorms, they're not going to have a problem with other anxieties. Babies are a trigger for anxiety. So getting with somebody to work on that earlier, maybe your cat isn't using their litter box. Now is the time to fix that. So you're not covered in spit up and you're stressed out and then you stepped in a big pile of cat pee on the carpet. You're not going to handle your emotions very well. So let's fix that early on. And then another appointment that a lot of people don't think about is the pediatrician. So there are going to be things that come up. Most importantly is how your pets sleep. Are you going to allow your pet to sleep in a room with a sleeping child? So talk to a professional about their opinion on that. From a most point, sleeping around or having your baby sleeping while you're asleep, we should not have a pet in the same room. So those are things to start thinking about now. If you are the main caretaker of your pet, and you're also going to be a main caretaker for the baby, you want to have somebody that can help you share that role now. So your puppies or your cat's not always looking for you for the food or the walk every morning. You may need somebody else to take them on that walk. Crating, if you are planning to crate down the road and have not, let's start getting your pet used to that. The other thing to think about is you may think, oh, my dog's great at the crate. They go on it all the time. Well, if that's only when you go to work or when you're asleep, how is it going to be if you want to use the crate when you're in the same room and they can see you right there? They may not be as easily adjusted to that. So you want to think about those things to start working on as well. And then the other thing is we really want to create more independence from our pets, especially our little fluffy friends that maybe are used to being carried around in our purses and doing everything with us all the time. We need them to cope on their own for short periods of time. How we feed our pets is a great way to obtain that independence. So we often think, okay, we have a pet. Let's get a bowl out. We're going to pour the food in twice a day. That's how they get their meals, right? And that's fine. But this is a great opportunity to bring in enrichment and keep your pets busy for meal times. So I put a couple of pictures on the screen. The little mice are called Doc and Phoebe's feeder mice system. You can use that for dry food or wet food. Cats are a big one with this because our cats are waking us up at 6 a.m. every day. And if you've been up all night with baby feeding them every 2 hours, you don't want your cat waking you up at 6 a.m. anymore. So these feeder mice are great because maybe we take away breakfast from our cats slowly and they're not used to getting fed in the morning anymore. So they're not going to wake you up. And maybe in the afternoons, that's when we get out our mice, we fill them up, we put them throughout a room in our home so the cat can spend the day slowly finding their food. That takes you out of the feeding equation. So they're not coming to you for food anymore. They're out looking for it on their own. This other picture is of a Bob's a lot. It's one of my favorite enrichment toys because the dog and or cat, they have the cat ones too, have to actually interact with it to get the treats and food to fall out. So you don't have to put your dog's food in a bowl. You can put their meal into this entire thing, put it out in another room, let the dog go to town, spend 30 minutes trying to get their breakfast out. They've got some energy out, they've been entertained. I do recommend putting it on carpet because on hardwood floors, it's super loud. So just something to keep them busy while maybe you're off feeding baby or doing something else or taking a nap probably is what you will be doing. Okay, some other things that we want to work on early on is creating barriers. So I kind of mentioned the sleeping situation. If you don't want your pet in baby's room, now is a time to close off certain rooms in the home, maybe certain counters. I brought up counters because we all know cats are never going to stay off our counter. You can try all you want. I don't have a solution for that. So our counters are where maybe we're going to be doing our meal prep for baby with formula or milk. And we don't want cats walking all over and nibbling on those bottle nipples and things. So maybe finding a perch that could be situated next to the food prep area so your cat can come over and watch and they can investigate what you're doing. Maybe put some catnip up there when you're working on food preparation so it keeps them out of your way and not walking across your hands and everything when you're busy there. Alone time, right? So we may not think about how much we interact with our pets and they think we're interacting with them. Maybe we're watching TV at night and we're petting them or we're allowing them to sit on our laps. Now is the time to maybe find a nice bed to go on the floor next to you. So when you're watching TV, you can start having your hands busy doing a crossword puzzle, playing on your phone, whatever you're doing when you're watching TV, but it's not interacting with your pet or petting them. They're having quiet time alone next to you. And then baby proofing. This picture kind of depicts my point in that you're probably going to be moving furniture, you're moving things around in your home. Cats do not like that. I had a cat one time that would pee outside the box, and the owners finally realized it's because they put the ironing board away on occasion, and the cat liked the ironing board. So they're kind of finicky like that. But if you need to anchor your cat tree to the wall, do that now. Find a place where it's going to go so that they're not stressed about baby and now their cat tree is not where it's supposed to be. They're really not going to like that. Okay. And then these are two really great training tools to start teaching your dog, especially if you're working with a trainer. You can Google these terms and look at YouTube videos as well, or chat with some of our care coaches because they're really common themes to work on with training. Mat training is the first one. Mats are great because they're mobile. So just get yourself a bath mat or a little rug or something that you can roll up and put away when not in use. But if you can start working now at getting your dog to go lay down on the mat for calm time, and they can maybe get a chew toy or something to keep them busy. Whenever baby's having tummy time, you just pull out the mat and they can have their special treat on the mat while you're with baby doing your own thing. And then teaching move out cues like out or back. We of course want to be proactive that if we are going to be busy with baby, maybe we find an enrichment tool for our pets to go do. Maybe they go behind the baby gate or in another room. But there's definitely going to be times where we forget to prepare. Our baby's crying and colicky or whatever, and we're trying to calm them, and our dog is circling under our feet because they're like, "Why is the baby crying? Make it stop." So teaching them back, go sit down. Those types of cues are important, and it also translates later when the baby starts crawling, which we'll talk more about in the toddler edition. But if your pet already understands that they can back up, they can remove themselves from a stressful situation, that's a really good technique to give them. Because if they feel cornered or they feel the pressure coming on because a kid's invading their space, they tend to become reactive and they're going to want to lash out or bite. But if they realize they can remove themselves, that's going to be really great a tool for later on. All right, so now we're getting closer to baby. We want to start thinking about all the sounds and smells. It's really a common one we think about is getting them used to crying. So maybe playing the Alexa to make baby noises or crying noises on occasion, maybe when you're not even at home, so you don't have to listen to it. Your dog can just listen to it for an hour. That's fine. Just little brief moments where maybe suddenly something goes off, like a cry noise, and then it stops, so they get used to that sort of stress level in the home. But another one maybe we don't often think about is when you have a baby, they come with all the plastic things in the world, and your home will be full of musical plastic items and they will make lots of noise. So getting that swing, getting that musical item, and letting your cats get used to it now, because it's going to freak your cat out if they're in the litter box trying to have a peaceful moment and the baby hits the musical noise. Now they don't use the litter box because it scared them. So, getting them used to like sudden outbursts like that is great. And then of course smells, bringing in the wipes and lotions and things for them to be able to get used to is great. Whoops, sorry, I think I skipped one. Okay. So now we're getting just a few months before baby. You want to start changing your routines. If you're planning on using a dog walker or a daycare setting for your dog to go to through the day or something, you want to start getting them used to that now. Having structured playtime. So I mentioned separating and creating independence, but a lot can come from just 10 minutes once a day, twice a day, where you have one-on-one time with your dog or your cat, so you can actually sit with them. You'll give them that attention that they're craving. So that way the next hour when you're not giving them any attention, they're more accepting of that. Feel away, adaptable. Those are great pheromone items to use. Feel away for cats, adaptable for dogs. They come as collars for dogs. They come as sprays, diffusers. Start putting those in your home to just bring down that level of stress initially. And just a quick note about cats and stress. The rule of thumb is you want one litter box per cat plus one. So if you have 3 cats, you need 4 litter boxes in your home. Get those now, get those set up. And you also want to have high perches that have a vertical surface for your cat to sit on, not in a private basement. They need to be actually in an area where you're going to be hanging out. It does a lot for cats if they can feel like they're up high, they're in more control. Okay, and then just a quick note about after baby. When baby is around and has arrived, maybe hasn't entered the home yet, it's okay to go ahead and bring home. I know everyone talks about bringing home a blanket or something from the hospital. I don't think that's a bad idea to just go ahead and do that ahead of time if you're able to do that. But I wanted to discuss introductions. Your pet is very smart, and I don't want you to underestimate the fact that if you bring a baby into the home, they know there is a baby in the home. So under no circumstance does your pet need to sniff or approach or actually have face-to-face contact with baby. So when you first have your introduction, if you actually were the one having a baby, it's nice to have someone else have baby in another room. You get to spend time with your dog or cat for just a few minutes so that they can say, hi, I missed you. You smell a little funny. You just have a moment for them to get their excitement out. And then go about your business. Go ahead and take care of baby. They can watch from another room. Maybe the baby gate's in place so they can still witness what's happening, but take it slow. So that first day, you don't need to be like, hi, here's your new sister. They will get the gist and they will realize that you have a lot going on. And as time, goes on, you can start seeing how your pet's adapting, and maybe that separation gets a little bit more narrow when you feel more comfortable with them being together. And again, keeping up with that structured playtime, it's good for your own mental health too. Take the dog for a walk in the morning for 10 minutes, spend some time with the dog, get away from baby. And then, as baby is getting older, the main rule for supervision is there should always be an adult or an older person present between pet and between baby. And then as they start crawling, that gets a lot more challenging. And we'll talk about that in the next webinar when we move on to toddlers. Does anybody have any questions about anything?
don't see any in the chat, but this has been super helpful. Yeah, let's see. I don't know. Does anyone have any questions? If not, I can post the giveaway link here. All righty, there we go. Oh, actually, Jay has a question about jealousy between pets. And Robin's wondering about how a proactive dog should be managed. Both good questions. Feel free to ask Jay or Robin.
Yeah, so can you all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, we went just for the record, yeah, I had a German short hair, female German short hair when my first kid was born, and she was not happy. She just when the baby came in, was making all his little chirps and all this kind of stuff, and she just plopped herself on the sofa on the other side of the room and just sat there and just grumbled under her breath for like at least 2 weeks. But then little by little, I mean, they were always like kind of, but she was a super gentle dog. So there wasn't really much that transpired. Okay, fast forward to today. So now I've got a younger GSP since she passed, and he's just over 2.5 years old. And then we got a Brock de Bourbonnais in end of August last year. So Alfie's 1 and change. So here's the bizarre thing that they do in terms of jealousy is that we always hand out treats simultaneously. We will hand out a chew toy of the same type simultaneously. We will hand out a ball of the same type simultaneously. But they will, or a Kong, right, filled with all sorts of yummy stuff. But somehow at some point in their play, as we're watching and as they're chewing and doing their thing, one of them, doesn't have to be, it's either dog, will all of a sudden drop the exact same bone. Like I have these beef cheek rolls that we use that he was enjoying just a second ago, and like basically sneak over to the other dog and sit there and wait until he gets the dog's attention and he stops chewing, and then he'll grab it. Now it's game on, and everyone's like all distressed and all upset, but then there's still the identical bone lying in the middle of the floor, and they're scrapping over one of them when there's obviously another one available. What is this?
It sounds like my children.
Totally. And that's the
like
other
an
thing
M&M.
too. They're like 2 human children, but of course you can't talk to them in the way that you would a human child. So what is this? I just find it bizarre that they go from being interested in their treat, the same treat, and then all of a sudden one will be like, no, I think maybe your treat's better. And then off they go. So yeah, how do I keep them focused on the fact that you both had the same thing? There's no reason you have to now go and take the other guy's treat.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's a common thing too. And I unfortunately see that situation escalate a lot, where it starts out as a kind of a funny thing, and then it becomes a growl, and then it becomes a nip, and then it becomes a full-on brawl where you're trying to break it up. And I don't think there's a way or even a right way to say that's going to get better or you should fix it, because when food is involved, it's never going to be something where it's okay to take away food from a pet. So when we think about feeding, it's okay to say, wait, okay, go ahead and have your food. But the moment you get permission to give your food, it should never be taken away from them. Now, when it's dog on dog, it's still the sort of same principle where you've given food, and if they cannot appropriately allow each other to have separate foods, they no longer get it in the same room. They're going to have to be separated because they've already proven to me that that's not a situation they're going to do well in. So I don't think you're going to be able to safely or appropriately desensitize them to that, or allow them, or to get them to understand, because it's natural for them. That's what it's normal for dogs to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just setting them up for failure, I think, because their personalities don't mesh well for that. I mean, there's many dogs that you could put the same situation and they would do well. But for those two, they probably just need to be separated. And that's just the way it's going to have to
and
be.
it's funny too, because it's only with the chew toy, like
Mhm.
their food, like they
Oh, it's not even
happily,
food. Okay.
no, it's not food, it's just the
Okay.
toys. So they will
Okay.
happily, like simultaneously at the same time, get the same food, and they munch, munch, munch. They have their own bowl. Everyone's happy.
Okay.
And then like, so my guys, of course they're my dogs, so they're super smart. I've also seen the older one, Ziggy, will, like, Alfie, the younger guy, will be on a bone, and Ziggy never in his life has liked this bone, right? This little thing that he got in the Kong box. So, but he'll decide, oh, well, he looks like he's having fun. This is the way I explain it. So I've got to distract him now. So he'll go and find a ball, and then he'll just drop the ball to get the little guy to respond to it, and then he'll go and take the bone.
Yeah.
And then
Smart.
the little guy's like, wait, I thought we were playing ball. Like, what are you doing? And
Right.
he's like, no,
Right.
I just took your bone. Haha. And that's hilarious. Again, though, and their personalities are actually really, really good together. It's just this jealousy thing, like the way that it turns on with these chew toys or balls or whatever, but not with their actual meal.
Yeah.
It's just
Have you
they
ever,
like to scrap or wrestle or something.
yeah. Have you taught them like leave it or give it or those types
Oh
of
yeah, leave
commands?
it's a big one with us. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think making sure that's in place so that when those situations happen, hopefully you have a little bit of control on, no, that's not appropriate, backup type of
Yeah.
thing.
Well, we also now we've gone to using, because our daycare uses a spritz bottle when they're doing something that you don't want them to do, and all the no commands and all that stuff, and it's actually shocking. One little spritz, and it erases like all the emotions and everything from them, and it's simply water. Like, it's so funny, and that has worked really, really well, because now we're at the point where we say no and they look at us like, but no, we still want to do this bad thing we're doing. And all you got to do is start putting your hand toward the spritz bottle, and then everything stops. So, but at any rate, yeah, I just wanted to know if there was any, this behavior of trying to trick the other guy out of what he's got, even though you have the same thing in your mouth.
Yeah.
Like where it's coming from. And it's just,
Yeah. I think it's normal. I think it's
okay.
a behavioral for dogs, and
Yeah.
they're always going to be a toddler. They're never going to
Yeah,
move
they're
to the
never gonna
next
grow out of it.
level.
Right,
You can
right.
explain that's not appropriate to them.
Totally.
So, I think it's just a management situation for sure, which
Okay.
sounds like you've got it under control. Yeah.
Yeah, we've tried a few things, and we're at a point now where it is under control, but I did want to know if there were other, if there was some other like awesome remedies and little things that I can try.
Yeah. I wish I had a good idea, unless Georgia has some other, input or ideas.
To be honest with you, Emily, like, just hearing you say, like, yeah, what you're seeing right there is just, you've got basically two toddlers and that's what they're doing, is good enough for me. Because it's just like, okay, well, as long as I know that, that this is something that I can like manage to an extent. And that, like, as they get older, because they're so young, like they're 2.5 and 1.5. So it's, it's just fun time all the time for these two knuckleheads.
I'm sure. They're big dogs. I'm sure they have a lot of fun. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the question. Robin, did you have another question?
No, actually, I think we're all set.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. All righty. Well, great question, Jay. Thanks for asking. And Emily, do you want to head to the next slide and I can cover the AskVet benefits? Awesome. So this is the AskVet Clubhouse located in Discord. It's really a fun spot for pet parents to interact with pet experts and veterinarians on the AskVet team. And it's also where we're hosting live events like these webinars and soon to be podcast hosted by care coaches, myself and Emily Peck here. So those will be really fun and we definitely encourage you to check that out. You can head to the next slide and I'll review all the benefits of, well, you get your AskVet mobile app. So it's a free app to download. And then once you download the app, you can become a member. And if you click on the next slide, I'll review all those benefits. So once you are a member with AskVet, you get 24/7 veterinary support and you can chat in at any time to connect with our team of veterinarians. You also have access to a rainy day fund. So every month we contribute $45 to a fund that can be used in the event of an emergency. So if you chat in and one of our veterinarians recommends that you go to the ER and you go within 10 hours, you can then use those funds to help cover the cost of that vet bill. We also send you some diagnostic lab kits. Right now, you can test your pet's urine right at home and then chat in with one of our veterinarians to review the results. And you also, as an AskVet member, get a membership to Pet Care RX, the Pet Plus plan, and they have free shipping and really great discounts on pet food, treats, toys, and medicines. We also host events just like this one. And we've got the clubhouse, like I mentioned, as well as care coaching. So I am a care coach, as well as Emily Peck here is another one of our care coaches. We just provide really everything you could need as an AskVet member. We help design personalized pet plans for you. We can review behavioral issues or set up a wellness plan and just really customize your AskVet experience for you. And thank you guys again for attending tonight. And we hope to see you next week. Dr. Emily's going to be covering, you said toddler, like interacting with toddlers, right? Yeah. So that'll be a good one. We've got some ones on noise phobia coming up. And again, we are launching the Coffee with Care Coaches podcast next week. So tune in the clubhouse. All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a good night.
Thank you, Dr. Emily. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.